Welcome to the Tangent Podcast. Great to have everyone aboard on this Friday, kind of in the middle of all the holidays and the holiday season, but we're getting back to the world of true crime. And today's story is mysteriously heartbreaking, is the only way I can describe it. It involves a little boy named Khaleb Collins from Winfield, Alabama. He's missing, but the story behind how and when he is missing and what is going on with his family is unlike any other story that we've covered here. So it's great to have you aboard. I'm Vinny Politan along with Al Wunsch III. Great to see you, Al.
Great to be here, Vin.
And of course, the
Looking
radio
good.
legend, Jonesy.
How are you?
All right.
How are you? You can
Let's
use
get
that
this
one.
party started. This is the Tangent Podcast.
Vinny and the Tangents, true crime podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangents, true crime podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangents, true crime podcast.
Yes, it is us, the Tangent True Crime Podcast. Great to have everyone with us today. We're talking about baby Khaleb. Like, where is baby Khaleb? Wow, what a story. What a situation in Alabama. Extremely tragic, but most of the true crime stories are. Like, we're not covering happy stories here generally, are we?
No, not usually, and generally, it is always there is tragedy and there is sadness, and this story is just it magnifies the sadness and the tragedy and is a mystery, which is like even more bizarre. I mean, where is this baby? Where's this
Number
baby?
one
I mean,
by the Bee Gees, 1979.
Yes.
Proceed.
so
No, but just on that point, Jonesy, that was not on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack.
No, it was on
Correct.
the follow-up album. They had 6 number ones in a row, 3 from Saturday Night Fever and 3 from the next album.
Which was
and they
Tragedy.
dominated the charts by producing everybody else.
Yeah, but what was after? What did they have on that follow-up album? They had Tragedy.
They had
know the other?
oh geez.
Yes, I've stumped the radio legend, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, very good.
Yeah. I'm at a loss. I'm sorry.
Well, Jonesy, it's excusable. You've been under the weather. By the way, on the Christmas show, Jonesy was a little bit under the weather and powered through all 3 hours. Amazing. How you feeling today, Jonesy?
I'm feeling good today. I finally slept. It was a Christmas miracle. I hadn't slept in quite some time.
Good. So let's do this. I want, how deep is your love? Is people are putting that up, but how deep is your love?
Yep.
But that's from Saturday Night Fever.
Yes, that's from Saturday Night Fever. 6 number ones in a row, and why can't I think of them right now? I'm sure the listeners. Tragedy.
And
I think was the last.
none of them were the baby brother.
No, they were going to bring Andy Gibb into the Bee Gees and make him a full-fledged member just before his tragic death, which made it even more tragic. He was, the boys were going to be together.
Because he was number one too, with Shadow Dancing.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was
They
big.
dominated the charts. If you look at the charts back then, they produced Frankie Valli, they produced and wrote Barbara Streisand, like Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. Like they just had so many number one and top 10 hits during that period.
Absolutely.
Like, dominant.
Your love
And
is higher than a mountain. Your love is thicker than water.
Something like that.
That was wasn't it something like that? That was Andy Gibb. I liked Andy Gibb. He
Yes,
died
yes.
in a pool house, didn't he? Died in the pool house or something?
I don't know, but Guillermo Vilas, didn't he die in a pool house?
Maybe I'm confusing the two.
How could you not confuse Guillermo Vilas, whose one arm was much bigger than the other from playing tennis, and Andy Gibb?
Look at
Best
this.
tangent ever.
We've got an expert on the case, the Unnamed True Crime Channel. I've been all over this case. I'm close to Winfield, been talking to the family and trying to understand this whole case. That comes from the Unnamed True Crime Channel. I wonder if we should
with that, because I'm telling you, I can't figure this case out. You have a situation with a motor vehicle accident where the father is driving at 92 miles an hour on a dangerous night, driving erratically. They have a child in the back seat who's not harnessed, not put in a child seat. The child is like, an infant.
I don't even think in a seatbelt. I don't even think there
was no seatbelt. No seatbelt on the child at all. There were kids sitting in the back seat. The two parents don't have seatbelts on.
Right.
And they skid off the road, hit a tree. The child is killed. The father is taken to the hospital, dies at the hospital, and the mother's in critical condition.
Yeah.
Just absolutely. I mean, first of all, that in and of itself is a crime, to have a child of that tender years sitting in the back seat without any type of harness system.
Every parent knows that.
It's not right to speculate about these things, but could that have all been intentional? The speeding, the no seatbelts.
Yeah,
well, I don't think I mean, it's intentional to leave the seatbelts off, but I don't think the father was thinking he was going to be hitting a tree anytime soon.
Maybe he did. Maybe that's why he's going 94 miles an hour. I mean, why would you ever go 94 miles an hour down a country road like that? I don't understand. You're close to home.
Especially in that kind of weather conditions, and with a curve in the road, so that you have to be able to have perfect ability to maintain the vehicle.
Yeah. On a highway, I get a little nervous if I accidentally get up around 80 because, it's 70 miles per hour down south here. So 70 is the speed limit, very comfortable. But I start getting around 80. I'm like, whoa, and I take the foot off the gas. The fastest I ever went was is in the Salt Desert, driving out in Utah, driving across the country. I'm driving through Utah. And I guess it's the area where they would test the cars and stuff, but there's just this flat, long highway and there's no other cars there. So there's no concept of speed. Like your perception of speed is thrown off because you feel like you're going slow because it's low and flat. You're not passing anything and there are no other cars there. And I mean, like if you go 55, you feel like you're sitting still on that. And I think that was probably the fastest I ever went anywhere. Years ago, and this is a way back when I was driving back and forth to college. I don't know if I mentioned, Al, I went to Stanford. Did I mention
Stanford?
That? Yeah,
that's the school in Connecticut, right?
No, not the one in Connecticut.
And weren't you the mascot? Weren't you the mascot?
I considered trying out to be the dancing tree.
The tree.
Did not actually do it because I was too busy at the radio station. If it wasn't working at the radio station, I would have been the breakdancing Stanford tree.
So you had to
wise choice.
Leave it alone, in other words.
So, Unnamed True Crime Channel. I got to check that out. That sounds fantastic. I'm glad you're on this case. We're definitely going to watch some of your stuff. But I've got something to watch right now. Let's give folks a little background on this story. I put together some of the pieces that the local news and some of the other folks covering the story have been talking about, so people have an idea what we're talking about here with baby Khaleb, because it has not been getting the attention because it happened just before Christmas. Then you have Christmas, so sometimes stories this time of year can get buried, but other times they can sort of bubble to the top because there's not a lot happening. But this one, let's take a look.
This is one of the craziest missing persons cases to date.
Now, this mysterious case was the topic of conversation in town.
What happened to 1-year-old Khaleb Collins?
That's Stephen Collins. That's Wendy Bailey. Together, they have 2 children. and that's Riley, their daughter.
His disappearance came to light after a deadly wreck in Fayette County.
Now on December 8th, the family was in an unfortunate car crash less than 1 mile from the house where Stephen and Riley unfortunately didn't make it. The mother, Wendy Bailey, was actually rushed to the hospital where she's still in critical condition, but there's one thing that's odd about this. Where's Khaleb?
Khaleb not in the vehicle and nowhere to be found. Law enforcement says that he was last seen in September.
Law enforcement searched the home at least twice this week, Wednesday night and Thursday morning. Investigators spent much time with canines in the backyard and woods around the property.
8 sheriff's cars right now and several deputies roaming the property along with search dogs with those deputies searching the property. Now those dogs seem to be out in the wooded areas near the property and next to the house and also along the shed.
Caleb was last seen in Winfield on September 4th. So why was he not reported missing sooner?
Simple questions are not being answered, like where is Caleb? How is it that a little boy could be missing for 3 months? Now, one person who might have those answers is John Elton Bailey, Caleb's grandfather, who was charged with failing to report a missing child. Court records say he also did not report physical injuries to that child, which he had a duty to do as a custodian.
Stephen Collins and Wendy Bailey always told the family relatives that Caleb was with friends of the family. And when the police talked to the friends of the family or the neighbors, they always told them that Caleb was living with their family.
The accident happened December the 8th, and Dad died, Mom's in the hospital, sister died. Why hasn't, what took everybody so long to realize there's another child? Somebody knew that there was a second child. So, what happened?
Yeah, what happened? What happened to baby Caleb is the question, and where is baby Caleb? A couple things. Like, number one, mom is still alive, but in critical condition in the hospital. I don't know how she's doing or if she's going to survive, but you look at if something did happen to baby Caleb, something nefarious, then you've got, which seems obvious at this point, a 1-year-old doesn't run away.
Right.
You've got the grandfather who was the custodian of the child, and he was living in the house. John Elton Bailey, not Elton John Bailey, but John Elton Bailey.
Is he old enough, young enough to have been named after Elton? I wonder.
I don't think so. I think he's.
Don't know a lot of Eltons except for Modelo, right, Al?
Yeah. I concur.
On the Elton issue?
Yes.
So John Elton and the mother would be on the hook for this if something nefarious happened to baby Caleb, but obviously something did, because a 1-year-old doesn't disappear, and they've searched all around where this accident was, and they did not find the child.
And there was no proof that the child was even in the car.
Right.
Although, quite candidly, since the other child was not restrained in a car seat, which would have been required under the law, the chances are maybe the sibling was holding the baby. Who knows? But it doesn't seem like that, since the kid has not been seen since September of this year. So, the kid has not been around. No one's been able to see it. No one can pinpoint. The stories keep changing as to what was going on with this child. Child has got problems. The child is with
Little
friends.
boy could be missing.
Oops, sorry. I wanted to put this picture up because I this is something that was posted on their Facebook, and I believe that's the sister. I think most of the pictures are the sister. There are very few pictures, if any, of Caleb. All the pictures are of Riley, the sister who unfortunately died in the accident, and I believe that's her as well. But I guess it's funny if you do a picture like this, right? Like this is a funny picture if you're not driving, right?
Right.
But when you end up in an accident and the child is not restrained in a child seat, and not even a seatbelt, it's no longer funny. The
No,
other thing was there's a big age difference here between in the family. If you look at him and her, I'll try to find a shot of them. Like he's much older than I think she was about 22 or so, the mother, and you know you see how young she is, whereas he is significantly older than she is. Like
well,
I don't know if he's in his 40s or 50s, but you know about at least 20 years older, I think.
we're seeing reports too that he was not very well liked by her side of the family, the husband, it being very violent and controlling and misogynistic and things along those lines. And it seems to me that there might be a history of domestic violence somewhere. And that this is a very obviously this man is not functioning properly by driving 92 or 94 miles an hour with a baby in the back seat unrestrained. It's just you don't do that. Okay.
Well,
you don't
yeah,
do
the twist in this is like, so how do you find out what happened if mom is incapacitated and dad is gone? Like, how are you going to put together the pieces of this investigating? To me, that's the challenge in all of this.
Well, obviously there's got, I mean, the grandfather is probably a big piece of this puzzle, because how could he possibly have existed without, be there and not know what's happened here? I mean, there's no way that could possibly happen. So he's probably the key aspect of this. We have no idea. I mean, you take a look at that vehicle. I mean, it's a miracle anyone survived. And she may have brain damage. She may have. She was not restrained. So we don't know what's going to happen with her mentally when they finally get an opportunity to speak to her at any point in time. So right now, in my opinion, you gotta lay heavy on the grandfather, and kudos to the authorities arresting him.
Yeah.
Okay? Kudos
What's
to the
interesting,
authorities.
one of the charges, though, involves not reporting injury. So they have evidence of some injury to the child. Now, look at this. This was posted on the father's Facebook page. He had two Facebook pages. This was posted on one of them, Jonesy. Some of y'all weren't grabbed by the arm and whooped in a circle, and it shows.
I was
Father of the year.
My mom rarely took hand to me, but I had a really foul mouth when I was a 4-year-old, and it was because I was repeating everything the siblings and my mom, frankly, would say. And one day she put me over the sofa on the plastic seat covering. She pulled my pants down with all my siblings in a circle and spanked me while my siblings laughed hysterically. I remember it to this day. I didn't curse in front of my mother again until I was 27, and I did it as a joke at a Thanksgiving dinner.
See, lesson learned. So, it shows that you were whooped in a circle.
Yes.
Yep, that's right.
Now, the two things that my mother would do, she had, like every Italian mother, she had a wooden spoon.
Oh,
She would just grab the wooden spoon. Never use it for anything other than to stir the sauce. But it was the threat of the wooden spoon.
Yeah. You see, in my house, my mother would send me to my room to think.
To think.
Okay? To think. And then what she would kind of do is she would come into the room and kind of dust around me and just give me warnings about what's going to happen when my dad gets home. And, things like, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. And I had a son once, like that type of thing. And I'd be like, well, I know what you're doing and everything else. And my father was a lumberjack. So when he came home,
excellent.
I mean, he had hands the size of butcher blocks. Okay. So, I mean, it was just, just knew that if I was going to get hit, I was going down to the count.
In your house, Al, I'm surprised you just didn't ask Frank Sinatra or Gene Kelly to straighten you out.
Al, where was your father in New Jersey jacking lumber?
there was a ton, but he used to go up to as far up as Maine and come all the way
Oh,
back.
okay. So he would travel. He wasn't
Yeah,
like
so we had a lumber company, so like we would have that. We cleared everything that was on the Palestinian State Parkway. That was all woods, and that was
Wow.
all cleared by my father's business. It was a family business that opened up in 1864. It opened up in Anglewood.
yeah. We were
So
still
you could have
stepping
been a
on grapes
lumberjack.
in Italy in 1864.
Well, we've been in this country. My father's side's been in this country since 1763.
Gotcha.
So
So that makes you a citizen.
yeah, that makes me a citizen. It's true.
Great grandfather then. I want to show you some more of his social media posts because they're interesting. Like, let me try this one. This may cover you guys. This was the one everyone's talking about. Okay, November 6th, right? So this is a month before the accident. He calls himself Brad here. I don't know why he has two different names, but he says, "Our son is not doing well. He is not growing and has major back issues. His organs are growing, but not his body. He has to have surgery at some point. Keep him in your prayers. Been rough and just seems going to be a long, rough, tough road ahead of us." Like, what is that? What is, like, no one knows about this. So, and they've obviously, police have taken a look at it, but there's like no medical records of any of this. Do you
And
think
that's
he's like
bizarre.
setting up what is happening, or I don't understand that.
I mean, it does seem like it's self-serving to put that up there and to have no documentation medically. And quite frankly, I don't see that he has that type of an educational background to be talking about these kind of things. It does seem very self-serving, though. Seems like a perfect situation. You put that in there, you foreshadow the fact that this child may not make it. And you get sympathy, and you elicit sympathy for it. It's very, very bizarre.
Right, we have some breaking news here from Fancy Nancy.
Oh,
I love Al.
thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Love is mutual, right there.
See, now if you were Frank, it could be Frank and Nancy. Look at that.
That's right.
There you
Or
go.
if you were Sid, it could be Sid and Nancy.
Yeah. Oh, even
Sid and
better.
Nancy. That's more my genre.
Terrible movie.
Jennifer Lego.
Let go. my
Jennifer
Lego.
Lego. Look, this looks like a request for this day in history. The intro is deceptively calm. Much of our history is quite violent. Shout out to the mods, says Jennifer Lego.
Well, I think somebody's asking what happened today in history.
The Civil War to civil rights and all the revolution fights. World War I and World War II. I'll always knows who is who. It's this day in history. This day in history. History. Now let's listen to his story.
All right.
Well, there's some demands, and so we're going to go over in the day of history. Okay, 12/27/1932. Okay, Radio City Music Hall opens up in New York City for the first time.
Cool.
John D. Rockefeller decided that he needed to have a Art Deco theater where a speakeasy used to be. It was right in the middle of the Depression at that point in time, and he figured it would be a good opportunity to bolster the spirits of the native New Yorkers. In 1933, it would be their first Christmas show with a fledgling group of high stepping and high dancing individuals that would come out called the Rockettes. But 1932 was when Radio City Music Hall opened. Also, on this day in 1964, it was the first appearance of the Supremes on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Now, were they originally just the Supremes?
Yes,
Yes.
they were just under the Supremes at that point. Diana Ross did not get the top billing until later on in the 60s, but at that point in time in 64, they were known as the Supremes.
And much like us in our show, very early on, it went from the Tangents to Vinny and the Tangents.
Yes. And you are certainly the same diva that she is. So it worked out very well for him. Come See About Me was the song they performed on the Ed Sullivan Show. Okay, in 1979, the Pretenders' debut album came out.
Brass in Pocket?
Yep, and a phenomenal album. Tragically, two of the members of the group from that point in time ended up not making it much past that. James Honeyman Scott, the guitar player, and Pete Farnan, the bass player, both overdosed, and within 3-4 years of that album coming out. So if you had a chance to see them back in 79 or 80 and see the original band, it was a very big treat. Also on this day in 1983, Pope John Paul II visits his assassin. You have Mehmet Ali Akka, and forgives him for his 1981 attack where he went to assassinate the Pope.
Wow.
On this day in true crime history.
How many Hail Marys did he have to do?
Oh, please. Could you imagine that?
Like, there were times where I had to do like 3 Hail Marys, 2 Our Fathers, and like you're trying to take out the Pope. Like
you really at that stage of the game, I don't even know if your knees could take that. How many times you have to be doing that on your knees? So, and then in true crime history, on this day in 1943, John Edward Robinson was born, a convicted serial red rummer, rapist, kidnapper, and forger. He was given the deep end in 2003 for 3 red rums in Kansas. In 2005, he admitted to 5 other red rums in Missouri.
What's his name again?
John Edward Robinson.
All right, so it's not Edward G. Robinson.
No, unless it's with a frog, she. He is the first known serial red rummer to use the internet to lure victims. Using the alias Slave Master, he prowled online chat rooms and ended up, the people that he met, and he set up these phony corporations and things like that, all disappeared without a trace. And in one tragic situation, he had a woman that appeared for a job, a false job that he had set up, and she brought her little baby with her, and he red rummed her, and then got family members to pay him legal fees to adopt a baby whose mother had committed suicide. Wow. And so that child was set with a family member for a number of years, not knowing that she had been adopted and that her mother had been red rummed by John Edward Robinson. He's still alive, and he's still alive, and still waiting on whether or not he's going to be executed or not.
Wait, he's serving. What year was it? You gave us the year he was born.
He was born 43. He's 80 years old.
Wow,
81, but he's still alive in prison.
Unbelievable.
So
by the way, Megan Easton, my fridge tells me this day in history every day.
Nice.
Must
My fridge, you get them from the door.
Al, is that where you get them from, your fridge?
No. My fridge tells me shut the door. You don't need to eat this at this time of day. Okay, that's what mine says.
My fridge says
this is our day in history. Also on this day, what's interesting, in 1943, they started putting together the plans for what would be known as the D-Day invasion on June 6, 1944. So it's the first meeting between the British and American troops, piloted by Montgomery for the British and Eisenhower for the Americans, to start hatching out what would eventually be the invasion of France, known as D-Day. Thank you.
All right, we also have some news from Gen X, one of our leading our mod squad. Jonesy also has a merch store on his website, and there's the link, folks. You want to get Jones? You have some amazing merch, by the way, because I know you take great pride in the design of all of your items.
I do. My favorite is Puff Kitty T-shirts that are like a gold. It was designed by the cartoonist who created Heathcliff, and Puff Kitty is on our talk show. Miss Gina B and I have a talk show. Is our performing cat who sings a song each and every week, and sounds remarkably like the Chipmunks for some reason. I don't know why.
Fantastic. Well, that's great to know. As I mentioned, though, Gen X leading our Mod Squad.
Order in the chat. Order in the chat. Don't dare attack. We've got order in this chat. The Mod Squad is on the job, helping us to keep it clean. The Mod Squad is on the job, always so nice and never mean. So let's give it up and say hello to the three amazing ladies running the show. Gen X, let's make some noise. Frankie Figs, let's clap our hands. And Jennifer Sue Bay, let's raise the roof. Order in the chat, order in the chat. Don't dare attack, we've got order in this chat. The Mod Squad.
All right, we also have to acknowledge, of course, Ashley Bouchard over on our Facebook page, doing an amazing job over there with our 993,000 followers. I was over 1 million, and then people left because Zuckerberg only sends our show to 0.02 or 0.03, sometimes 0.05% of the followers. It's very frustrating.
Yes.
Ashley and I were texting about that before. Anyhow, the Mod Squad, thank you so much. All the amazing work that they do each and every show, and then in between the shows as well. Right now, they're calculating all the winners, all the giveaways from the Christmas the Christmas special. We were giving away merch. We were giving away messages. We're giving away theme songs. We're giving away guest appearances on the show. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you, everyone who participated. We had that great trivia contest, and we're getting that all together. All right. Let's see what else is going on here. I just want to check in with everyone here. Ashley saying the chat is a little spicy today.
What?
So,
Oh,
a little spicy, which is
spicy.
good, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the Have you guys seen the commercial Jason Alexander does where he plays like several different parts in a diner, and one of which, Spicy, is what reminded me of it. They are brilliantly funny.
What is it for? What's the commercial for?
It's for Mike's sauce. It's like mayonnaise, like Mike's Amazing.
So and it's George from Seinfeld.
Yeah, he plays like 12 different parts. One of which is like a flamboyant guy who talks about spicy in a loving way. But it is hysterical, really good.
So it's kind of like full circle for his career, if you think about it. Like,
yeah,
have you seen the old singing, dancing George doing? Was it a Big Mac commercial or no? The McDLT. He was the McDLT guy.
Really?
For McDonald's, yeah. And he goes, and the hot stays hot, and the cool stays cool, and he does like a whole song and dance thing, which is crazy when you think about George Costanza. But he had a little bit of hair going, and it was interesting. So it's kind of like full circle for him.
I saw him on Broadway in a musical.
You did?
Oh,
yeah.
So what's interesting to me is, and I've always been fascinated by this because I don't have the to be able to sing, right? Like not everybody can sing. Some people can't sing. Like you physically cannot sing on tune. It's impossible, right? I'm amazed by how many comedians on Saturday Night Live can actually sing, like really sing.
Right.
Like, do you think they do that purposely? Like they only hire people who can sing? Because anytime you see one of their tryout things, they don't ask them to sing. Do you think that they take that into consideration, or is it just coincidental that people who are outgoing somehow have the gift of being able to hold a tune?
Every comedian is a frustrated rock star. That's simple as
interesting. Well, you know,
every
in the old
comedian always wants to be able to sing. You take a look at any and all of them. Okay, you know, you look at Jerry Lewis, you look at, you
Eddie
look at
Murphy,
Eddie Murphy. Okay,
Joe Piscopo.
Joe Piscopo. All of them are frustrated, but we all like to sing. I mean, I started out singing, and then was only doing comedy because we had to tune our own instruments in between songs, and there's nothing worse than dead air when you're trying to tune, because people get nasty, especially at a club like CBGB's. So I would be talking and making jokes or doing impersonations up there. So that's why I got involved in that. Just to
Well, you know, in the old days of show business, like you did everything, a little song, a little dance, a little seltzer in your pants. You know, you had to do everything. And if they asked you if you could dance and you could, and you said yes.
But see, like the people in Saturday Night Live, they have a very interesting background. They're not necessarily comedians. Okay,
No.
their work. I mean, there are a couple in there, but most of them are improv specialists.
Right.
Able to work along those lines. They don't do stand up. Very few of them are stand up comedians, but they know how to do improv. And one of the things with improv is, obviously disciplines, and ballet and dance and even singing lessons are very important if you are a person that does improv. So
King Tut, how'd he get so funky?
Well, Steve Martin also wanted to sing, obviously.
Yeah. Well, he toured recently, just playing his what does he play?
He's banjo. Yeah,
banjo.
Very, very good banjo player. I mean, he's exceptional.
Steve
He's
Martin.
actually won Grammys for that.
So Goth Vogue saying hello and good afternoon. Goth Vogue.
Goth Vogue. Wait till you hear our closing song.
Our closing number.
Our closing number is going to sound exactly like Peter Murphy and Bauhaus. Okay, so and I know
Bauhaus.
Bauhaus, a very, very good goth band. Okay, their biggest song was Bela Lugosi's "Dead." I'm sure everybody used that.
That's
that was
a great one. Played every Halloween.
That was my prom song. So
there you go. Laura Dulaney looking good, Al. Jonesy looking sharp, and Vinny, your awesome hoodie is making your eyes very blue. What? Everybody got something there, Al. Everybody got a little something.
No, I'm
I gave you "I love you, Al," so you can't.
No argument. I'm not.
You can't.
I was simply sighing because it said sighing, so that's why I sighed.
Time to get happy. It's time to get funky.
Let's get funky.
It's time for us to smile. Because here comes McSpunky.
Happy holidays to McSpunky.
Yes.
Great to see you.
Joy X Noel.
There you go. McSpunky in the house, making us all smile, especially around this time of year. You need a little McSpunky's like a glass of eggnog.
Yes, which I was drinking quite vociferously.
Now, did you ever make homemade eggnog? Because my babysitter, when I was growing up, every Saturday night would make us eggnog.
My friend's father. I talked about in the Christmas show about the fact that I was in a Jewish part of town, and his father was Jewish and made the best eggnog in the world. So every holiday he would come with this big vat of eggnog for us. So I've never made it, but I've had it, and there's nothing better than homemade eggnog.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I like it, but it's so super sweet as a type 1 diabetic.
Yeah, no.
It's like, all right, if I'm going to enjoy this, I got to pump up the insulin. So
yeah, and you might as well just spackle on the pounds. It's just easier. Just take it and just put it right on top of you, because it's about 14 billion calories.
All right, Micah Carpenter is with us. I was named after Chuck Connor's son in the show The Rifleman.
Cool.
Deputy
Great show.
Micah, pronounced Micah. Look at that. I might have been saying Mika, but it's Micah.
Micah.
So. Did you guys watch The Rifleman? I never watched The Rifleman.
Oh yeah,
I did.
I still do
I did.
sometimes.
Yep. I'm still on MeTV.
So
Yeah.
you know Deputy Micah then?
Yes, that was the son. Absolutely.
And Chuck Connors is the one who was also a professional baseball player, or was
Yeah,
it
he was a Dodger.
He was
Right,
a Dodger.
Dodgers. Yep.
Bingo.
Yep.
So thank
Sammy
you.
Davis has some amazing appearances on The Rifleman.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
The guests that appeared on the shows of the 60s were just incredible. I mean, if you take a look at the old Batman series and you see who used to come on there, and it was a situation, believe it or not, that celebrities wanted to be a villain in Batman in the worst way.
I'm sure, yeah.
And they were basically begging that they could get on, and they could not possibly make enough characters for all of them. So then they put them in a situation where they would open up the window when Batman was going up the right, Batman and Robin were climbing up the building.
Sammy Davis was one.
Sammy Davis was there. You also had the Lurch was there, and you had a number of other celebrities that would open up the window and say hi to Batman as he was walking up the building with Robin. So celebrities in the 60s and all the other TV shows, you used to see them all the time. Gilligan's Island was known for having a ton of different guest celebrities.
How could they have guests there? Why wouldn't the guests just save them and take them off the island?
And that was the whole thing, was that what would happen was something would go on that would cause them to think that if they came back with them, they may not be able to do what they wanted to do.
Yes, like the guy who wanted to hunt
Tarzan.
humans.
The guy who played Tarzan was afraid because he was afraid of a giant ape, and he thought that his career would be over. They had Phil Silvers was a great Broadway producer, and then they wrote a play, and he wanted to steal the play, so he left and stole the play and put it on Broadway. It was Hamlet the musical. So they would be on.
They wrote a play while they were on the island? Is that what?
Yeah, they wrote a play to try to get Phil Silvers to be interested in taking them off the island and give him an idea. He took the idea. He didn't want to give them credit for it. And then he went on Broadway and did Hamlet the musical. Wow. It was actually a very funny episode. Phil Silvers.
The radio was such a key part of Gilligan's Island. They got that radio working, and it was a connection to the mainland.
Yep.
So Rasmad, Yo Vinny Bose says, "What's up?
What's up?"
Of course, Bose over at Twitch is also prolific on YouTube, but sent all the Twitch followers that we now have over to the channel.
Very nice. Thank you.
All right, let's see.
So where is this baby, Vin? Where are we going to find this baby? Is this baby alive?
Well, I mean, I guess, and I saw someone posted this a while back. I read it, but I didn't put it up on the screen. Talking about, well, let's talk about the digital footprint. Will that provide any answers? Like, to me, it's first, they have this date, like the last time the child was seen was September 4th. But, okay, but where was the child since September 4th? Or did something happen on September 4th? I guess you could go back and look at the digital footprint of the father. But if you look at where they live, it's sort of a wooded area. That's part of what they've been searching. Something else they searched in the backyard, which I found really interesting, but not necessarily unusual. And I'll put it up right now. Hopefully it won't.
Yard.
Here's the backyard. You see in the middle of the backyard, there's something. That's a storm shelter in the middle of the backyard. So they searched that, which I think, in parts of Alabama, they're like in Tornado Alley. So you literally need that, and may actually use it a lot. Where we are in Atlanta, we're just outside of Tornado Alley. Sometimes we get some tornado warnings, But there's parts of this country where it's just like, it's part of life, like hurricanes are down in Florida, tornadoes for folks. And my guess is that's why they have that. But if you just look generally here, this is a big, big wooded area. And you can see, if you look really closely, you can see that there is, they sort of taped off the property, but they're not limited to just, if something happened to Caleb and he got rid of Caleb, babies are the toughest to find because they're so tiny. He's only a year old. He's just learning to walk, teeny tiny little fella. So your search area obviously is not limited to just your property, but that would be the first obvious place you would look. To me, it's always the closest wooded area to the home when you're looking for a missing child and you suspect something. That was exactly the case with Casey Anthony. I never understood the search there. They searched all these areas that were further away from the home than where Kaylee Marie was actually found, which was literally the closest wooded area to their house. You drive down to the end of the block and then there's woods, and it was, and she was, I don't know, 15, 16 feet into the woods, and that was it. But that was never searched. Like, to me, you always start, there's two places you look. You look in the closest wooded area and then the closest body of water.
Ben, can I just go back to one thing on the rifleman?
Yeah, sure.
I believe the rifleman's son was Mark. I think Micah was a character in it, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he was played by Paul Fix. Was a big time Western actor. So I think that Micah was a deputy, but Rifleman's son was Mark McDaniel.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
So,
Sorry.
Sally Vella, just following up, because I think Sally Vella was one of the winners. Did trivia winners get their gifts, or are they still waiting? The video messages. Yes. Well, this is what's happening, Sally. It's a whole process. You know how crazy things are with the holidays and all.
Yep.
With the holidays and all, it's taken a while. So we're putting together the list of all the winners, and then people that are getting stuff from the store. It'll take a little bit of time. I'm still iffy on the. I think it's upstairs. The color morphing mugs, because there's a supply issue with those, so we may have to replace that prize. But yeah, you are still waiting. You'll have to wait just a little while, not too long, but we're getting all the information together. There was holiday travel out of town, all of that. So, but I'm on it, Sally.
Vin,
I'm on it, Sally.
Can I say this? It means that Christmas continues. Okay, so it continues until you get this gift. So think of it that way. It's nice that, at December 25th, done, right? Finished.
Exactly.
Now you've got something to look forward to past December 25th.
And P Daddy G68, Vinny needs eggnog 0, right? Do they make it? They need to make it. That'd be a good prize.
They do make reduced calorie, but I have not seen where they would do with 0 sugar.
Yeah, that is like the sweetest drink ever.
Absolutely.
Ever. Like as you're drinking it, you start drilling the holes in your teeth from the cavities. All right.
Well, the thing is, Vin, if you put the alcohol in, which I know you don't, that kills off a lot of the sugar. Okay. It basically does. That's why I put the alcohol in it. It cuts the
makes
sugar.
it more of a diet drink for you.
It makes it more palatable. Okay, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, Al, things are getting intense right now. Laura Delaney, come on, Al, marry me. I'm going to keep asking until you say yes.
Well, Laura, thank you very much, and please feel free to send me a note and get an address and everything else. But
all right,
that.
Now I know why someone said things are getting a little spicy here, because Mila Plume, I want Vinny's blue shirt. I mean, the one he's actually wearing, so it smells like him.
Oh,
That's extra.
That's pretty funny.
Take me now, Lord. Take me now.
All right. Let's see.
So now,
Oh, here I got to put this up just for Al.
okay, oh, good.
Heather, whatever. Frank Gorshin, amazing.
Oh yeah.
I used to open up for Frank Gorshin, and I will tell you what. For if we do another show and tell, I will show you the jacket, the coat he gave me from the Riddler, which I have. Okay, we used to work at a place called the Treehouse in Westport, Connecticut. He had a show, and I was at school in Connecticut, and I got a chance to open up for him. He had a show with a band and everything else. He was a wonderful, wonderful performer, very, very dear friend, and to me was the greatest Riddler of all time.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Now, if you know that there were two Riddlers in the TV show,
Who was the second?
John Astin.
John Astin.
Really?
Yeah.
John Astin from the Munsters?
No. From
Addams Family.
The Addams
Yeah.
family. I meant the Addams family.
John Astin was the other. Riddler.
Really? Didn't know
You know,
that.
it's fascinating. You take a look at like how many Mr. Freezes there were on the TV show. Okay, there were 3, believe it or not.
Yeah.
George Sanders was the first. Otto Preminger, okay, was one of them, and Eli Wallach was also.
Oh,
Mr.
Eli Wallach. That's one name I actually recognize here. Everyone's talking about Gilligan's Island. I'm a little bit behind here by about 8 minutes, but a lot of comments on Gilligan's Island. And Heather, whatever, back to back. This is like a 2 for Tuesday because this one's for Jonesy. But they didn't get Wolfman Jack on the island.
No, they didn't get Wolfman Jack on the island, but in American Graffiti, he is the thread to the movie. And I close my AM radio shows in homage to him by saying, here's a little kiss on your ear, because he closes his show in American Graffiti saying that greatest radio scene in a movie ever is him and Richard Dreyfuss when he pretends not to be the Wolfman in American Graffiti.
Oh, I do remember that.
And he was also on Married with Children, an episode of Married with Children where he played. We played a guy who was like, those $1 million contests that they have, Publishers Clearinghouse. So he awards the Publishers Clearinghouse $1 million award to the Bundys, and then realizes he has the wrong house. And
Excellent.
And so they got the consolation prize of tickets on a cruise on an old battleship. So
was Wolfman ever on the Love Boat? Speaking of cruises,
I don't believe so, but he was in The Odd Couple playing himself.
Yep, that's right. That's what when they wrote the song "Happy and Peppy, Bursting with Love."
Bursting with love, dancing and singing into heavens above, jumping and rolling like a turtle dove.
If you will lie down, I'm gonna bounce right back up. And then that was performed, okay, in a slow version by who, Jonesy?
J.P. Morgan.
That's right, J.P. Morgan, the juicy J.P.
She was something else on the Gong Show, and I didn't know her. And she was just so filthy, for lack of a better word, like edgy, and that was her claim to fame. To me, was game shows.
That's right.
All right, Jeanette Hines, granddad is the key to this. So,
I agree,
100%.
100%.
We're talking, of course, about baby Caleb. Let me see if I can find granddad.
Oh, I thought you were talking about what I put in my eggnog.
No.
No.
This guy, John Elton Bailey.
He's the key.
He's what?
He's the key to this. He's the guy that has to know what's going on. And as I said, kudos to the authorities putting him in jail and let him sit there and rot. And I hope he rots forever. Because if he's not going to admit what happened or not going to give what he knows about this situation, then he deserves.
As the custodian of baby Caleb, let's think about this legally for a second. If something happened, and it seems obvious that something did happen, because again, a 1-year-old, we don't even know if he could walk, doesn't run away, and they searched the crash scene and did not find the child, and no one had seen the child since September. If something did happen to the child, and let's say the father who has passed away, died in the crash, is the one responsible, but he's the custodian. Is there some level of culpability here?
Well, absolutely.
No, but not just for failing to report, but under a homicide theme, whether it's
like respondent superior type situation.
No, not necessarily like that, but allowing the father, access to the child, allowing the father perhaps to have custody of the child. Because my guess is the reason that he is the custodian is because there were issues in the home, right? That's why the grandfather would have to step into those shoes. So I don't know enough of the backstory of that, but if in fact the court says, listen, you are the one responsible, yet he permits that child to be with the one who is the problem. And again, I'm making some presumptions here. Is there some sort of maybe involuntary type of charge that could
No, it's voluntary. It's called child endangerment.
I'm trying to up it to homicide. Is there any?
I don't know if you can up it to homicide. I mean, I think that's going to be
endangering the welfare of a child, something like that is where it could go. But if he knowingly
in child endangerment, it can be a second degree. So, I mean, you can have, so you're looking at in New Jersey, 5 to 10 years, presumptive sentence of 8. And if the child is indeed deceased, if the child is killed and dead, then you could be talking about 85% no early release.
How about accessory after the fact? That's my favorite thing. Accessory.
Well, accessory after
People
the
are
fact.
throwing that around. Accessory after the fact.
I mean, that could come into play depending on what the situation is. Was he involved, getting rid of the remains of the child or anything along those lines? I mean, certainly he could be an accessory. Also, if he knew something about this and didn't report it, that does make him an accessory.
Lisa Koch with some helpful diabetic tips. Count carbs, not calories. Exactly. Although many times there's a correlation because a lot of times all the calories are coming from the carbs. But yes, Lisa Koch, absolutely. I'm on it. Oh, Jeanette also wants to know if the house has crawl spaces. Let's see. Let's take another look at the house. Did it? So they've gotten the search warrants. I'm trying to find a picture of the house, but I'm not doing so well here. Keep them separated. Here we go. I think it's right back here. It looks like these houses probably don't have underground basements, but probably have some level of crawl space. But I'm just concerned that you have woods and you have time, right? It's not like the child goes missing and there's a small window of time for the child to be somewhere, to have been taken somewhere. There is an enormous, almost bottomless pit of time where he could have gone anywhere and everywhere, whether it's to a body of water, to some site, some wooded area, wherever. And
you also have,
I'm going to say it, I hate saying it, but dumpsters as well, like all of that.
You also have animals in woods, as scavengers, and I'm sure that there is a number of scavengers, and especially a baby, a small individual would be obviously taken and maybe separated in 300 different directions. It's horrible. It's just terrible. I mean, just the thought of this poor child.
But how about the fact that if the child is missing from September to December, and no one, like, people sort of notice but don't notice, and I think they were providing these cover stories where they'd say, "Oh yeah, the child is with so and so," and then when they're speaking with so and so, they say, "No, the child is with what's his face," right? So they're kind of doing that, so nobody is super suspicious. The question is, how much time has to pass before people are like, "Okay, where's your baby?" Right?
You should be suspicious as soon as they go, "He's with friends."
Yeah.
I mean, like, as soon as you hear that expression, "Oh, where is he?" "Oh yeah, he's with friends." He's with good friends of the family. That's where he is. No problem. I mean, as soon as I hear that, I'm going, wait a minute, there's something not kosher here.
Well, that was 3 months, and 3 months is certainly enough time to be suspicious about that sort of behavior.
No one is dumping off a 1-year-old child to friends who's got those serious medical issues, unless the friend is, a doctor, okay, and they have a 100% bed care going on for this child. It's not happening. As soon as you hear, oh, he's with friends at 1, think the worst automatically. I mean, who in their right mind gives a 1-year-old with medical problems to friends?
Yeah, that it doesn't make sense. So yeah, you go back to that post. To me, the post is part of the something happened, right? And it's happened before this post. So it's definitely between September and November, because the last time he's allegedly seen is in November. So let me put that post back up, because it said, our son is not doing well. He's not growing and has major back issues. His organs are growing, but not his body. He has to have surgery at some point. Keep him in your prayers. Been rough and just seems going to be a long, tough road ahead of us. My guess is he was setting up, he was going to have like a funeral, or make not necessarily a funeral, but an announcement that our child has passed away.
Well, it certainly, as I said,
what's the plan there? Like, how you gonna fake that?
And why wait so long?
Well, you I guess you only tell those who you have to tell, and you don't have any service or anything like that. You say it's just too painful.
Or you're looking.
They don't want to bring attention, so that people are like, where's the death certificate? What happens when you're supposed to put the kid in school?
He might be looking for someone to set up a funding page.
Yeah, people do that all the time.
Because you look at, I know he had lost his job. The company he had been working at had moved, and so he wasn't employed. I don't know if he got subsequent employment, but I'm sure money is tight. And if you've got a child that has those kind of medical situations, I don't know what insurance, if any, he has, and I doubt that they have insurance. Under those circumstances, he may be looking for a funding page and hoping that someone's going to start sending money to him.
Yep.
What better way to do it? Let me tell you something, that you tug on someone's heartstrings and you say, listen, I got a baby that's got these horrendous conditions. He needs surgery. I'm sure that you can get people sending out, tons of money.
Absolutely. People are so good. People are so generous.
Especially
here's another post.
I'm
not sure what's on this post, but let's take a look. What's on this one? This is when they got engaged in June. So Pam, the wife, on June 3rd, posted, got engaged, and then he writes to me. So, they started the family before they got married, but they did get engaged in June. So, at least at that point, it seems like there's plans for a future for the family. You've got 2 children already. And it just seems like there were plans, but what else was going on, right? And that's where I get back to this post, right? Like, clearly believes in some level of discipline of children. Not that, spanking your child's illegal, but, you're publicly posting this, right? I've got a couple other things that were posted. Let me put those.
But who would be spanking an infant that a child 1 year of age or 2 years of age? That is not, all right. Corporal punishment is what it is, but you're not doing that to a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old.
Pam and I are about 7 weeks from bringing Khaleb Collins into this world. We are so excited and ready. Riley's waiting for her baby brother. So he did put an announcement that the child was coming. Like, should we say anything about the spelling of the names? Khaleb, K-A-H-L-E-B. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought when you popped up the first graphic.
Yeah. And then Riley also.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
like how you would sound it out.
Yeah, there might be some meaning to it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just what's
Perhaps,
also
Ben, perhaps,
what's that?
perhaps they're hooked on phonics.
Yeah, and that was the problem all along.
Yes. There's nothing worse. I need a consonant, man. That type of thing. When you're hooked on phonics, it could be very, very detrimental to your health.
Hooked on Classics, Hooked on 45. Those are some cool releases.
Let's see what else we have here. I have a couple. This was posted by Pam. This is her picture. Most important in my life. But I think that's the daughter. And this is the other part of this, is that it just appears that there are more pictures and everything. And in most families, I think it usually goes this way. There's more pictures.
Did you check the date on that? It's like 2022, I thought I saw.
Right.
So it had to have been the daughter.
That would be the daughter. Like there's inevitably more pictures of the first child, right?
Right.
Would you agree, Jonesy?
I assume as much. I never experienced the situation.
Oh, okay.
Except on the other end of it, where I was the last child, and there's probably more pictures of me.
There were more pictures of you?
Probably. I was, I was the baby, and everybody was jealous that I got so much attention. So
interesting, because I think with your children that generally, like the first one, like there's a picture of everything, especially these days where, these days it might be a tie because we walk around with cameras. Back in the old days, you had a roll of film, you had to get it developed. And I just think there were more photos taken of the first child because it's your first child, right? And
I was born in 61, and when my first brother was born in 51 or something like that, the family probably didn't have, they probably took more pictures because it was more affordable as well.
In the 50s or the 60s?
In the 60s.
In the 60s. And that's the other thing, is the technology, right? Depending upon when the children are born, how far apart. Because we had that situation with the two boys, that the first boy was just before things started to get
digitized.
And the second boy was right on the bubble where you had some old fashioned, and then all of a sudden we had cell phone cameras and we're taking 1 million pictures. The granddaughter, forget it. There's just it's like we have every day of her life documented. At least 15 to 20 pictures every day, which is awesome. But let me see. Let me take a look at one more of these stills that I have, just to take a look at. When I did have a still of the backyard, I wanted the shelter, which was a place where they initially were searching in the backyard, and I could see that, but that's like an obvious place to look. I don't think if the child was, and I hate saying this word, but it's the word where it's a possibility, because we've seen in other cases where the child was disposed of, is not going to be a super obvious place to find the child. I think it's going to be in a place where he did not want to get detected, because he's already setting up his cover story that why my child is no longer here, is my child, as I had posted before, was sick, was ill, and passed away. And then they go with what Jonesy said, which was just too painful to have a service. So we did a private little family burial.
Well, you would think that would be the situation, but as we saw that the Doomsday couple, where did those kids' bodies end up? On the property,
Yeah.
I mean, and you do see sometimes with, we talked about the serial Red Rummer in the history part of the show. He kept his bodies in a vat, a sealed drum in his household. So not always do they do it. You give them the credit that you should be giving them, that they're going to try to put it somewhere different. I mean, these two don't look like, the brain trust situation. where they were going to be really thinking this thing out. So the body could still be in that vicinity.
Yeah, I don't, and I think this might be I think this is the daughter also in this
It's got to
photo.
be the daughter. It's got to be the
Yeah,
daughter.
it's the daughter. I look at a moment like this when I look at photos, and I'm wondering, like, how can you have a moment like that? And obviously you're taking some form of a selfie here, so you're looking at the reflection. And regardless of what's going on with your other child, like how could you get to that dark place where, you know what I mean, where you go from mom, dad, oldest child to mom, dad, we're going to cover up what happened to our child, and we're going to let the child perhaps rot in the woods somewhere. Like whatever happened, like sometimes in these cases, it's not, it could be a moment flare up of DV, or it could be an accident, but an accident that you would be held responsible for. And then there's the panic afterwards, or it could just be outright evil. Like it's one of those three buckets that it's coming from. But any of those three, how could you go from what we're looking at here to that, right? Is it drugs? Is it alcohol? I think that's a strong possibility. One of those two is playing into it. But I think there can also be a streak of evil in all of it. But it seems like you've gotten people to go along with it if, in fact, grandpa didn't report anything and is a custodian and is living in the same house. Like, where's Caleb? Right. That's it. Like the first thing you wake up, where's the baby? Where's the baby? Where's the baby? That's all you talk about is the baby, right? When you've got a baby, right, Jonesy? Like, where's little baby Jonesy? Everybody wants to know. They come over, they want to see baby Jonesy. They don't want to see anyone else. They want to see the baby.
You've got to see the baby.
Exactly.
And you also like to see the interaction between the big sister and the baby. You know, that's another adorable thing that you see, because, you know, the big sister is going to be protective. And that's generally, you know, what you see. And the child missing since September, not seen since September. And nobody's saying anything, or no one's going, you know, maybe we have to look into this. It's frightening to me that people would be that gullible to say, oh, he's with friends. Yeah, that's what he is. He's with friends. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I would hope that if, God forbid, that was a situation near me, I'd have the gumption to say, you know what, something's just not right here. No baby just goes to friends who's got these medical issues.
Now look at this photo. Look at this photo. This is like a magical moment, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's a great photo. I mean, it's really an amazing photo, capturing a moment, right? So somehow, again, you go from this to the little boy in the back is gone, and no one said or did anything. The other thing about this photo, again, it shows us the property and the vast wooded area. To me, that makes this so difficult, so hard. But you're not limited to this area. The child could be anywhere because it's months before anyone is even noticing. So you go back, you're going to look at GPS history, but you're looking at the history of over the course of months of where his cell phone may have been. Where does he work? Where does he go? What other places are they familiar with? This is, I think, a needle in a haystack here, unless grandpa talks and knows something, or Pam somehow recovers from that accident.
There are two children in that picture, correct, Vin?
Yeah.
So now, is the sister in front?
Yeah.
Okay, and so the baby's behind it, which is also kind of bizarre, because you would think that the older child would be in the back and the baby would be on top of her. But of course, I don't see that they're even strapped in there on that vehicle. But
it's a little tricycle.
Yeah, but the tricycles have straps for.
Yeah, my guess is this one would have one, right? Like for the one who's sitting in the actual red seat would be strapped in if you were doing it properly.
But it's, you know, it's just kind of an odd situation. I think that the 1-year-old would be in front of the 2-year-old, so to speak. If you were going to, put that together with the 2-year-old holding on to the 1-year-old, but whatever. Just a
All right,
horrific
things are
situation.
getting next level now. Laura Delaney, dating game kiss at the end of the podcast, guys. There you go.
I'm all for it. I mean, if that's what the people want, then we're going to give it to them. Okay.
All right. Unnamed True Crime Channel has a little more info for us. Look at Brad's brother's fake book page. Dwayne Collins, he found a picture of Khaleb from July. Also, they lived in Jasper, Alabama before Winfield, Alabama. So that's a place that they're familiar with. That's another thing you have to do. There was a case of twins, and a young couple adopts these twins. Not twins, they're brothers out in California. And the brothers disappear, and they've got like 3 or 4 other siblings. I can't remember the exact number, but they've never been found. Mom and dad have been convicted, life in prison, all of that, but still the children have not been found. It's tough to find little ones. It really is.
It is. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific.
Yeah. Let's see. I am just rolling and scrolling.
You ever been to Alabama?
I go through Alabama all the time on the way to the beach.
Okay, because I
go through a town called what's the name of it's the bass capital of the world.
Nope.
Eufaula, or it might be Eufaula. I don't know how they say it. I say Eufaula.
It's
this beautiful little downtown where they have these restored homes, which are just amazing, and you have to go 25 miles an hour through that part, right? And they have the signs and everything. Got some old restaurants and stuff that they're starting to restore in the downtown, and it's really nice. And it's also the home of the Donut King.
I've been to Prattville, Alabama.
For what?
Where Don Bosco was playing the school at Prattville, their school down there, and it was a game that was unbelievable. The heat was just excruciating. The humidity was excruciating. And the nice people of Prattville put all of the barbecue grills on the side of the visiting team that was Don Bosco, so that acrid smoke was just there. And because of the humidity, the smoke could not dissipate. So it was just hanging over us with the white smoke. I didn't know if we were going to play football or a pope was going to be announced, because that's how much white smoke was going on that. And we beat them, and we had to have a police escort to get out of the stadium. So
wow.
That's my Prattville, Alabama story on with regards to that. But
Anita's mom was from Alabama.
Yeah, there you go. It was my second home. That's very nice, Anita. But Eufaula was a great line in the movie The Sting. Okay, the villain in the movie would always say Eufaula, like that.
Right. Robert Shaw.
Robert Shaw. That's correct. He was the guy that would always go, Eufaula, was at every line that he would talk when he was talking in the movie. Which I never understood where that accent came from, because it was supposed to be obviously, he was like half British and then half like Chicago, but it was Eufaula.
Eufaula, where Gannon Stauch was dropped. Gannon, a young boy who was taken out by his stepmother, evil stepmother, Letitia.
Oh, yes.
But that was a Colorado case, but she took a long drive and drove. I thought it was Florida. I didn't know it was Alabama where Gannon was found.
That was a horrendous story also.
Oh, she was out of her. She was just jealous. She was mad that she married this guy and had to watch his child when he was working to make money. It was crazy. Crazy. Well, I am. Oh, Jury Duty Pod Kimberly is asking, Al, is that the famous transatlantic accent?
On the Sting, or for me?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm
Maybe for the Sting.
From the Sting. Possibility, but I mean, first of all, Robert Shaw. There is not a bad movie. Robert Shaw is not in any bad movies. So if you're like stuck up one night, you can't fall asleep, and you see a movie with Robert Shaw in it, watch it. It's going to be worth your while.
Almost like Jason Bateman until his most recent movie.
Oh, I watched that yesterday for the first time.
Carry On,
and what an interesting, juxtaposition that he took with regards to that. It was like watching, Henry Gibson, be a villain. When Henry Gibson played the Nazi in the Blues Brothers.
Right.
It was like Henry Gibson was a character actor that was from Laugh-In, was always the meek, nice guy. Everybody liked him and everything else. And all of a sudden he plays a Nazi in the movie the Blues Brothers. That was what I was looking at Jason Bateman. I couldn't believe he was playing, but I thought he came across okay. I mean, it's a stupid movie, but I mean, I thought he's
fine, but yeah, the movie he chooses great movies usually, like a very good slapstick or a good drama.
Right.
This project, they must have just thrown a lot of money at him.
I can't imagine
how you could read the screenplay for this and say, "Oh yeah, that sounds like." I mean, it got silly by the end. It just got
unbelievably silly. I mean, I don't understand how you could even like the positions that were going on and the stuff that was going and the guy running around the friggin' place.
Don't give it away. We don't want to be spoilers to it.
I'm just saying he's running around the friggin' place.
Carry On. I watched it on the plane on the way to Jersey.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My wife and I were both watching it separately. I was about a minute ahead of her and watching it on my device. And then every time, I mean, like it got more ridiculous and we're just like shaking our heads. Like, but on a plane, you're on a plane. April Diaz, sending you all well wishes for a great weekend. I like your shirt today. Al, hope everyone in the chat had a great Christmas. I've only been to Alabama on my way to Graceland.
Oh,
Jonesy, you've been to Graceland.
Been to Graceland twice. I actually broadcast from the Elvis Studios there on Sirius XM on the night of the vigil. I broadcast all night long as the mourners went up the driveway with a sea of candles, and as you watched it in the distance, all you saw was the flames seemingly floating up the driveway. It was quite beautiful.
And did you spot Elvis?
I did not spot Elvis, but we did cross over into Alabama to go to a dog racing track.
That seems to be perfect.
Perfect
to me.
The specialty there was bologna sandwiches, which was pretty funny in itself.
All right. Big thank you to April Diaz. Always appreciate your support here on the Tangent Podcast. That's it. We're wrapping things up. We were close to an hour and a half. I'm hungry. I'll be honest with you. I'm just hungry. My blood sugar.
Did you bring enough for everyone?
A little low, but I'm getting hungry. And I did not eat my lunch before the podcast today.
Which you often do.
I eat beforehand. But today I don't have to rush anywhere. I don't have to go anywhere, so I can have a nice lunch today. Maybe
What are we having?
A nice sandwich. I don't know. I have some nice turkey, avocado. I got the Campari tomatoes. Maybe I'll throw a little bit of my balsamic mayo on there. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Balsamic mayo?
You jealous, Al?
No, I've never heard of it.
I make it myself.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Very nice.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
What kind of mayo do we use? Because I'm a Hellman's guy.
Duke's. Once you move down south, you use nothing but Duke's mayo.
Duke.
Interesting.
Duke's. Don't even, if you try to even buy another mayo here, they may take you out.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. As long as I know that.
Yeah. All right. So it is time for us. I'm getting everyone ready because we have the new outro song now, which is really, I think, exciting for everyone. Let me just remove this. So Al, where can people find you if they're looking for you?
Well, Vin, we're off Court TV. So we're not back until in 2025.
That's right.
So,
Until next year.
Next year, I'll be on the first Monday of the year with Vinny from 8 to 9. Okay. On closing arguments. And then, of course, you can see me or get to me on my at Legal Weapon 3 on X.
On the X. And by the way, we're live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. Please like, share, re-X, and subscribe. Jonesy, where can folks find the radio legend?
Well, tomorrow, sadly, the oldest racetrack in America, over 200 years, Freehold Raceway, shutters its door. I was there last week.
Yep.
My grandfather used to take me there all the time.
Yeah.
Well, it's gone.
The country gone.
The only good thing is they took some gift items, some merchandise out of the warehouse, and they have these really cool radios that I bought last week. I'm going to go back and buy them all out. Final day of racing at Freehold. I've invited our listeners, my listeners, to come out, and that's it. 200 years, man. Oldest racetrack in America.
Wow. No longer. I just remember going with my grandparents to Freehold, and my grandfather pointing out how on one of the horses they use the chariots, right? What do they call them? They call them the
sulkies. They use the carts.
Yeah, they use little carts in the back, and he's like holding the horse back to make sure he didn't win.
Harness racing.
Harness racing, and he's like pulling it back. So
exactly. That's usually the horse I had. That's the freaking thing I had. I'm sitting there watching that, and they're like pulling back, and I was like, this doesn't look too fixed.
Yeah, but they still have harness racing. Is there still harness racing anywhere else?
Still harness racing at the Meadowlands, but
they do it. Okay.
And
Yonkers. It's just so sad though that this racetrack is the oldest one in America, and gone forever.
Yeah.
But I'll be there. Join me if you live anywhere.
Hey, Jonesy, you put 5 on number 3 in the third.
I will.
Bouncing Betty to win. Bouncing Betty to win.
5, number 3 in the third. Yes, indeed. I won a trifecta there once, and it was like it paid like $12.
Well, yeah. The thing about Freehold is, I'm a long shot better, or at least a mid odds better, and the chalk always wins at Freehold. So what did I do last week? I put 5 on the chalk, and I actually walked away winning for the first time ever.
Bingo.
Not much,
but better than losing.
Well, my dad taught me to go for the long shot. My dad wouldn't let me bet on Secretariat in the Belmont because he would only pay $2.10.
Okay, JM Vinny, why are you mispronouncing Luigi's last name? It's Mangione. Well, first of all, where I come from, it's Mangione, right? It's Mangione. He probably calls himself Mangione because he's probably a Fugazi, right? Number 2. And number 3, one of my good friends happen to have a name very similar, and they pronounce it Mangione. So I will probably continue to call him Mangione because I don't respect cold-blooded alleged killers. Anyway, that's the story behind it.
Makes sense to me.
He's probably a Fugazi.
A Fugazi or Cuisine. The Cuisines would say it that way too.
Exactly, you would say it that way. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for the great comments. Thank you for all the super chats. Big thank you to the Mod Squad And everyone have a great New Year. If we don't stream again, I may not stream again until next year. I don't know. I may do one, I may not. But thank you for all your support. We'll see you in the new year. What else? I think that's it, because my show is off for another week, and then I'll be back on Court TV. I'll remind you when we get there. It is time to say goodnight, Jonesy.
Good night, Jonesy.
See all of you in court. Somebody say tangent, tangent. Somebody say podcast, podcast. Tangent, tangent. Podcast, podcast. This is the Tangent Podcast. Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for all your support. We are the Tangent True Crime Podcast. We'll see you all.